Hey folks, Jonathan here. Snow's melting away. It's not going yet, but it's getting there. And we're back out playing with this engine a little bit. I've got the distributor machine, got it down in. Still got to make the collar for it. I've got everything I need to put a carburetor on it, Quadrajet. I noticed it's got a block-off plate for the fuel pump, which will probably, of course, be running electric anyway. I'm going to go ahead and get a battery and sit here, hook the cables up. It's got ends on it. It might be alright, and we're going to just short starter out and see if we can get it to roll over, see how it sounds rolling over. I moved it with by hand, and it should be okay. I need to get the fan bolted on so we don't have to worry about the pulley coming off, and we're wanting to be able to run this a while, so once we do get it started, we want to check it out good. So let me get a battery and maybe get some bolts in there, and let's see what happens. Alright, we got 3 bolts in the fan. I'm going to try to find another one here, but fine thread bolts are few and far between around here. I also found this. This is an extension. Looks like 2-inch, and this was laying over in front of the fender well behind the radiator support. But this is actually for a flex fan without a clutch, or a solid fan, just a old school style. So we'll save it. Missing one bolt, but not sure what we're going to run yet. Probably run electric fans before it's over with, so I doubt very seriously that this will be on it. Some of the OEM electric fans are really good fans, and some of them, a lot of the OEM stuff, of course, is better than the aftermarket when it comes to fans, because if you go looking for a cheap fan, that's what you're going to get, a cheap fan. So let me get a battery. We'll just see if she's going to turn over and go from there. And one of the reasons I'm doing this is we have to pull number 1 plug out, and I'm going to turn it over until we get the top dead center, and that way we can put it together in time and put the plug wires and everything on it when we get ready to do that here probably tomorrow, because it's getting ready to get dark on me now, and I've been towing too much and hadn't had any time. And it seems like if I start toward the truck, the phone goes to ringing. So far we're good right now, and we'll keep at it. Okay, we got a battery hooked up. I'm going to see if I can find a screwdriver. Okay, let's see what happens here. Sounding pretty good. Do we dare take a plug out and try a compression test on one cylinder? Yeah, we might as well. Let me get my compression tester and we'll check it.
$90 on the second stroke and $120 on the following.
It'll run.
It'll run, yeah.
It may pick up, but it's been sitting for a long time.
Right.
So.
You ain't got no oil or nothing in it yet.
No,
That's
so
right.
we'll see how it does. Okay, we checked number 1 cylinder, and we was getting 120 psi, and there's reasons that it should be higher than that, but there's a couple reasons why it may be like it is. One thing, of course, this thing's been sitting for 5 years, and number 2, the cam in it. If it's got a big cam like it's supposed to, valve overlap, you're not going to have the compression you would have if it was just a stock cam. So anyway, we're going to check number 8 real quick just to see if I can stay out of your way here. We're about 140 on it, and so we know it'll start and run. So we'll get a little oil in the cylinders and get the distributor in it, carburetor on it. I've got adapter plates I got to play with for that carburetor, and like I said, it's Quadrajet off of 455 Buick, and we'll get it on there and see if we can get her fired up. All right. Okay, folks. Next day, back playing with it a little bit. What we've got here, Quadrajet, and that's the big one off of 455 Buick, and it ran good on the last engine. We hope it'll run all right. 2 adapters. Got a steel adapter that somebody evidently made to go from that 4500 series bolt pattern to, it's like, I think, a Dominator carburetor or something, but, and I'm going to a adapter to go to a spread bore, which is what these are, because you notice the The rear secondaries are bigger than the primaries. So we're having to run 3 gaskets, 2 adapters, and I had to come up with some bolts to use as studs, and we're going to use socket head cap screws to bolt it down. So it's not the best way, and this is probably not going to be permanent. This is just, you know, to get this engine started up, to check it out and see how it runs. But we're going to get all this together, and then we'll get it on there, and hopefully we can try to get this thing fired off today. Alright, show you more. Okay, here's how it starts. Homemade gasket. I didn't have one that would fit that 4500 series. And our adapter plate. Okay, we got the adapter bolted on, and now we got another gasket. And now we've got our spread bore adapter, but we've got to put the bolts up through. Okay, and now we'll get the socket head cap screws in that. Alright, now our spread bore gasket. And our quadrijet. And there we go. All I gotta do is put some washers and nuts on it and tighten it down, and then we'll be ready to get everything hooked up to start. And no, like I said, this is just a temporary setup to get this thing started. So, all right.
Nothing. Nothing.
That's it right there. They don't even have it hooked up. Well, it seems they don't have the gauge hooked up. They got the line sticking out cut off. So we're going to see if there's any oil coming out of it.
Yes.
It is coming out?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay, we got it hooked up, and I just noticed I don't think my gauge is reading right. I should have another gauge in there. It's reading about 5 pounds sitting there. That's not good. Well, there it went almost up to 60. So we know at least we got oil pressure. And I'm going to go ahead and get this, I got to make the piece for the distributor. And then we're going to go ahead and, the little sleeve, I haven't made it yet. And we'll get that distributor mounted down, and I've got the wires. We can go ahead and get it wired up. I should have a cap around here somewhere, I hope, with a good coil. And we'll see if we can get some fire to this thing, and then that leaves us with some fuel. Block off a couple vacuum leaks, and we'll fire it, and if it starts up and runs, then we'll go through the water. You can see there's a plug missing out of the front of the intake right there, which is not a problem, but I've got plugs. But I've got antifreeze. I want to go ahead and get that in it, and then we'll check and make sure there ain't no leaks. Hopefully they didn't have water in it. You know, even though they got that plug out, it could still have water in the block, and we didn't have no freeze problems or anything like that. You never know. I doubt they put water in it yet, because they was just putting the engine in the truck, so they didn't get everything hooked up. So anyway, I think we're good to go. I don't care for the oil pressure gauge. I'll see if I've got another one, and maybe that reads right, but I have no doubt that's plenty of oil pressure. But alright, let me get at it and we'll get something done. Yeah, I pulled the distributor out, and you can see there's a bunch of clean oil coming on it, so definitely pumping good. So we'll get this thing finished up, cleaned up, get the sleeve on it. You can see where I turned it right here. So we'll get the sleeve made. It's going to have to be up about 1/4 inch from what it was, and we'll get it where we can clamp it, and then we'll get the distributor in it and move on. Okay, a lot of times I make these videos just assuming everybody knows what I'm talking about on some of this stuff, but the distributor, the reason I had to have the distributor down in is, you know, in case you don't know, the distributor gear on the bottom drives off the cam, and then at the bottom of the distributor is a T slot. Well, it's a T on the distributor and a slot on the oil pump shaft, but without the distributor in the engine, you can't build oil pressure at all. So what we're doing now, I have ran a wire over from the solenoid to the where I can get to the battery, and I'm going to put my finger over the hole in the number 1 spark plug, and I'm going to tap it until I hear compression. We're going to get it up on number 1 so we can get the distributor finished up. We can go ahead and set it in. Makes me wish the battery was on this side. If my finger's long enough. Alright, started blowing my finger off right there. So we know that we won't be 180 degrees out. So now I'm going to go ahead, that I'm close, I'm going to go down to my, I doubt you'll be able to see them, but I'm going to go down to my timing marks on my balancer and go ahead and line it up on 0 with the timing tab. And we know we'll be on top dead center, we won't be 180 degrees out. So we'll do that now, and then we'll be ready to set the distributor in when I get it done. Okay, I changed out the oil pressure gauge. Put one bigger on there, which ain't supposed to be there. That's somewhere secure there. But anyway, where did it go? There it is. Okay, so I got my distributor in time, should be in time. I did notice one thing. The timing mark on the crank compared to the tab is not right, so I don't know whether the harmonic balancer has turned at one time or they've got mixed matched parts on it. So the balancer looks good. It's not, I mean, it's good and straight and everything, so I don't know that that's the issue. But so we just timed it from getting number 1 piston up on top dead center. I know it's not 180 out. So first I'm going to pour some gas in the carburetor. I think I got all the vacuum lines blocked off. And I'm just going to crank it over and give it a try and see what happens here. Okay, I'm going to turn it over until I get some oil pressure up before I start it. I haven't turned it over since I put the other gauge on it, so we'll turn it over and then I'll see if it'll fire up. There it was a no. Let's see what happens here. Or at least see how far out of time I got it. For anybody that don't know, I'm actually putting the fuel in the bowl. This is a bowl vent at the top. So I'm trying to fill the bowl up where it'll run off of it just like if it was running with the fuel pump. We're losing fire here. I don't have my wire on good enough. I'd definitely say it's not stock. Let's see if we can get some fuel to the carburetor here. Okay, let's see if we've got a minute's running time, maybe 30 seconds or something. All right, folks, runs good, good oil pressure. You know, as fast as it was revving, it's hitting hard. You can tell it's got a big cam and revving really good. But what I was wondering, you know, because this thing had just been sit in, I wanted to get up under it and make sure they had the torque converter hooked up, and absolutely they do. It's got a small, you can tell it's a high stall converter. So we'll probably run this and the 350 turbo that's in it, and we'll just see what happens with that. But I think it's going to be just fine. It definitely hits hard. It's definitely got some, I mean, it's not stock. There's no way around it. I think it's going to work out good. We're going to get the frame for the 59 Triumph in the shop. We'll get this engine pulled out. I may run it a little more. Matter of fact, I'll probably get some water in it and maybe pull the top off the carburetor and get that float right. And we will we'll go ahead and see if we can get some antifreeze and water in it and let it run a little while before I pull it out. But you know, so far so good. Everything's looking real good. I think it's going to be just fine. And anyway, I appreciate everybody watching, and keep your eye out because we've got a bunch coming up here. All right, bye.